Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're keeping safe and doing fine. And I am Ms. Zeenat Saba Khan, and it's my honor to welcome you on the very first and the industry dialogue started by Doc Mood called Capsule. Capsule basically is conceptualized at filling the knowledge gap, improving the interaction between the pharma companies and medical practitioner. Now, why did they think of coming up with this was my very first question as well. But if you see that how COVID has redefined our realities with frequent lockdowns and social distancing, we have really seen our realities change, and this has disrupted many activities. And most common, I think, what we hear across is the disruption in the economy. Now, these certainties has not left pharma companies and pharma world untouched. With closed clinics, restricted face-to-face meeting with medical practitioner, or severe restriction in travel for a product briefing exercise, it's changed it all. And they're also threatening to derail the market initiatives on how pharma always saw that as to be. Now, in this situation, it is imperative to be part of this transformation which is led by technology to ensure that we connect better with doctors, the doctors to connect better with the patients. And with these emerging technologies, it's become more and more imperative to understand on where are the areas that we are missing out. One of the areas that really impacted in this was the knowledge sharing. Now, if you talk about the efficiency with which we can produce and disseminate clinical data, scientific breakthroughs to keep the medical practitioner in loop is the question that everyone is aiming to excel and is running around to solve. So Capsule is here with an effort to this direction to just bring in the top notch of the company, of the industries for a discussion to then focus on certain areas where it could be either around the emerging technologies, could be around the emerging trends, or could just be discussing on what we together need to do in order to build a better future. So with this, it's my honor to welcome you again to Capsule and the evolution of such a capsule plugging the gap in knowledge sharing. With this, I would now be gladly like to invite my speakers that I have here. I am joined here today with Dr. Mahesh Abhyankar, Vice President USV Private Limited. Dr. Mahesh, before we move on, just a quick introduction that I would love to share with the audience that is joined here today. Dr. Mahesh is currently the VP Scientific and L&B at USV. He's the youngest doctor as speaker in 1500 CMEs across India and at boards, degrees in hospital administration, clinical research, marketing, international marketing, 40 research publications to his credit. That's commendable. Design thinking expert and member of scientific committee as well as nutraceutical committee of IDMA. COVID Warrior Award winner in the hands of Governor of Maharashtra. NEET and GE counselor, social worker, author of popular book EmoZeal. Please join hands and welcome Dr. Mahesh Abhyankar.
Yeah, thank you.
With this, welcome, sir. With this, we move to our second speaker that we have here today. That's Mr. Subhojit Mukherjee. Mr. Mukherjee is SBU Head Sales and Marketing at Akumentis Healthcare Limited. With an experience of more than 20 years, it is and a distinguished pharma industry business leader with 27 years of corporate pharma sales and marketing experience. He has risen from the ranks and has an extensive experience of working in entire India and stayed in various geographies across several verticals. His corporate journey has been spent mostly in Cure Pharmaceutical Limited, Pune, where he had spent 20 years. Now, his domain and expertise core skills are sales and marketing, business development, key account management, institutional and tender business, KOL management, and corporate sales. I think absolutely bang on for the topic that we would be taking up today. Welcome, sir.
Welcome. Thank you.
Last but not the least, we come to our third speaker, Mr. Nikhil Dhamne.
Hello, ma'am.
Mr. Dhamne is the business unit head of Sun Pharma Laboratories. He's experienced with more than 17 years in pharma industry and business head who has demonstrated success in both sales and marketing. His expertise is in marketing strategies, sales effectiveness, new product launches, handling joint ventures of global brands. And also his keen experience that he's had around market research, competitive intelligence, global compliance audit, and business development makes us to be very glad to have you then, sir, with that experience. And with this round of
Thank you.
introduction,
Welcome.
with this round of introduction, I have all three speakers here on how do you see COVID impacting our industry? What are the areas that you saw actually influence, experience a major change? And to answer this, I think I'd like to start with Mr. Subhojit. So, sir, where do you see that COVID, while we understand, has impacted us all, and I just spoke about that, but specifically when we talk about, say, the overall industry and the connect between various stakeholders and our ecosystem, where did you see that impacting the most?
Uh, COVID has definitely impacted us in a big way. If I start with the sales management, you know, if I start with COVID 1.0, the biggest impact that we have had is that doctors stopped meeting us. That was the biggest impact we had. We could not reach our customers. And then we started a host of digital processes in form of WhatsApp, mails, and all, which initially were accepted, but then became an interruption. The doctors didn't like it. Ultimately, we slowly graduated, and we are now into doing less number of webinars, but good qualitative webinars. So we are still trying to find out how to meet the customers, in the prescribed way that is normally practiced. What I'm trying to say is that there are doctors whom we are supposed to meet twice, thrice. Now, meeting twice, thrice is becoming a big challenge. So that is the number one disruptor. Meeting customers at the prescribed frequency is becoming tough, and we are evolving into a system where time will decide how we are going to meet. Maybe it will be and it is already happening, it will be a mix of physical and digital, which we use the word digital, and or a hybrid kind of a system. So that is definitely happening. The second impact that is happening now that face-to-face meetings have started happening with doctors, now a iPad is losing its relevance because the doctors are practicing from a distance or meeting from a distance. Either like I was in UP field work for the last 2 weeks, I was there. All doctors are practicing with a plastic curtain in between, and the pharma people have to detail behind the plastic. So what is happening? An iPad is looking like a 8 millimeter thing, and it's losing its relevance. So visual aid is there, but visual aid, so much of content is there. What will the doctor see? And even the voice is not so much audible since I am talking behind a plastic curtain. It is from a distance. And not only that, where the doctors are not preferring to meet face to face, they are meeting in the garage, they are meeting in the corridor, again from a distance. So visual aid is evolving, and maybe a visual aid will have less content but quality content. It may not be crowded like we used to have. Then iPad will definitely lose its relevance because we are talking from a distance. So these two things I have definitely seen basically. And third thing, what I am finding, doctors are preferring to meet companies and pharma people who are there to add value to their practice, value to their patient. So customer relationship management is moving from CRM to customer value management. How much value I am able to add, and accordingly doctors are meeting them. So this also I am noticing that उसी को मिलो जिससे मेरा value होता है, and बाकी they are meeting and just doing. So this is again coming. So we have to seriously think how we can add value to the patient doctor's practice. In other words, keeping the patient in the center, which is, we use the term patient centricity, and then making the strategy. So these are three things I think I have seen which is impacting from the field per se, because I've been moving around last 4-5 months, and these are genuine things we need to work out. And this is going to stay for some time. It is not going to go very quick.
Well said, sir. I think the point which you brought on, and just picking up from there, we got in digital tools to start connecting because there was a need, but the way it happened and at the scale it happened, rather than seeing the value or rather than actually using it effectively with a very strong content piece there was a bombardment which has led to a very negative emotion around these channels. And hence there is a lot of dependency going back. And like you said, we will have to see on how do we integrate it and also find the right balance of utilizing both the face-to-face as well as our digital, like you mentioned, the digital way of connecting.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your views. With this, I now move to Dr. Mahesh. So what's your view? We just spoke about the connect has really impacted and the way we started to connect during this entire lockdown period, and to where we are now normalizing and going back to the traditional means. So how do you see COVID changing the situation, the ecosystem for us?
Yeah, I think one of the point when we were discussing about the gap, the main hydrants was the relationship gap. The medical representatives and the pharma companies meeting to the customers, whether it is doctors, chemists, stockists, patients, all this is hampered. But the other important gap was a knowledge gap. Because as a doctor, if you see, the knowledge and skills are very, very vital. If I look at the doctor's point of view, today the doctor believe in quality care, or the whole decision making is based upon the guidelines and the new articles, references which are coming up. And there is a patient-centered approach, because every patient treatment is different from the other. And the patients are educated, right? They are Google educated patients. So it is very important is that the knowledge has to reach to the doctor in a very, very fruitful manner. But that knowledge gap, the doctor looks at the pharma companies as a resources for knowledge. The whole brand building process, customer relationship, perception building, all this happens through sharing a scientific knowledge. So scientific data dissemination becomes a very, very important point. There is no doubt about that. And that is vital also. Because if the knowledge gap is not filled, then the patient care will be affected. And that is very, very critical in the current scenario, because his or her patient will be deprived of modern treatment or the new concepts which are coming. If I give a simple example, for example, a pre-diabetes kind of area where the metformin is suitable. Now, the India has got 7 crore pre-diabetes people. So, not using a metformin in this particular population. And after the COVID, if you see now, after COVID, there are 60 illnesses are talked that COVID patient can develop within next 6 months. Whether you talk about the cardiovascular, or whether you talk about depression, anxiety, you talk about fatigue, myalgia, you talk about thromboembolism, respiratory illnesses, and even if you see there is alopecia, hair loss is also talked post-COVID, right? So all this new knowledge which is coming every day, and the pharma industry has to react to that knowledge. They have to use whatever the molecules which are there to optimum, so that more and more patients are benefited. So the knowledge gap filling is very, very critical. So whether you feel during the time you have done good with digital, now it will be obviously physical. So I think the hybrid model will be useful in the current as well as future, at least for 1 year.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. And I think what you mentioned of the scientific knowledge, which is important and has to be cascaded. In the absence of a physical connect in COVID, digital just emerged as a solution, but yet did surface the problem that we were trying to solve. Also, I think picking and connecting to what you said from Mr. Abhijit, Subhojit, is you spoke about the customer relationship management to value management. And I think that on that theme, I would like to question Mr. Nikhil on with this change. And we've already discussed and laid out that, yes, impacted the communication, the way we communicated. We've seen quite a roller coaster ride with the reactions and response from the doctors as well. The dependency on marketing teams to quickly address and be agile to address the need of the doctor, what was needed, was all that we saw. With this, in your organization also, what was that one common theme that you rallied around, which you felt was absolutely the need of the hour in this entire ecosystem of connecting, reaching, engaging, also adding value at the same time?
Right. So, Zeenat, I think the very important anxiety. So, COVID situation, maybe in second wave or first wave, one of the biggest anxiety which was built up across the sales and marketing team of visibility. And I think that is first anxiety. And second thing is their own visibility and the brand visibility. And I will say when Dr. Mahesh is also talking about very important point, when doctors are currently doing a evidence-based practice, I think this visibility is not only about showing a brand or my face, but it also offering some very relevant, meaningful information to the doctors, which is like acting as a trigger to prefer a particular category of drug or my brand. I think there was a significant gap which was failed. So one is a relationship gap, but I will tell you, relationship gap was a more of a manifestation. But actually, the deeper problem was the knowledge gap. And I will tell you, a lot of knee-jerk reaction came from a relationship management, relationship visibility point of view. But I think industry, very honestly, took almost 2 3 months or maybe 2 months to really address that knowledge-related gap. So the diagnosis was related to knowledge, not only with respect to visibility. And just to very specifically replying your questions, everybody on the toes, like how quickly now I can reach to my customers, whatever the format. And I will tell you one of the major issue which has happened during that time, that quantity superseded the quality of connect. So how many touch points, how many reminders, how I am doing it, and somewhere quality of that visibility, quality of that effort took a backseat. Possibly I failed at that time. Definitely now, if I see in wave two, industry has few learnings of the wave one, and there was a lot of work has been done on a now content based approach and to improve the quality of reaching out to the customer. And as Dr. Mahesh has rightly mentioned, there are a lot of efforts. Then now I could see personally in last 6 to 8 months across the company within my organization now to work on a knowledge, how to bridge that gap of knowledge, which will in turn will possibly will help to develop the relationship related gap also. क्योंकि I think doctor is meeting me not because he like my face. I think he's meeting me because what am I helping him to improve his quality of practice. I think that fundamentally need to be understood by myself personally feel, and as well as I think all my fellow colleagues who work with me in the industry.
Absolutely, I think yes.
If I can take from Mr. Nikhil and Dr. Mahesh, uh, when COVID 1.0 started, the need was to reach to the doctors, because face to face was just not there. So digital enablers were there, from WhatsApp to emails and all. So now that the reach has been attained, now what next? Now, because now face-to-face meetings have also started. Now it makes no sense to bombard the doctors with too many mails, too many messages. So that evolution is now happening, a mixed hybrid kind of a thing, like face to face, and it has to be followed up by a virtual thing, but with relevant content. Because now, without a content, a doctor will not come to a webinar or join a course or anything. It is not simply going to happen. It has to be content. That's that.
Just to add here, Zina, recent one study, I think everybody has seen that, and must be it is on a lot of social media networks also, with respect to HCPs. So earlier, 87% HCPs used to prefer to visit pre-COVID to visit the medical reps personally. During peak of the COVID, that has come down to 19% who are preferring visiting HCP, visiting personally medical reps. Now, if I look, now this same respondent, when they've been asked post-COVID or normalcy situation, it is not coming back to 87%. That percentage is now only 55%.
Yeah.
So
Correct. You are right.
I think that somewhere really highlight where is the concern. I think we will discuss more detail. I think in the later part of it how to address these challenges. I think you must be having few thoughts about it and how we can. But I'm just saying, so this is going to be the problem. I will not say the problem, but I will say this is the typical marketing challenge. I think, and we should gear up and we should continuously to innovate. And any disruption is the mother of innovation, I think. And I think we are now innovating.
Well said, Mr. Nikhil. I think in this round, the common thing that came out, and not that we were not aware about this, uh, is that uh, it's the need for us started off with how do we reach that end customer. Then it evolved to that, hey, we are reaching out. Now, how do we engage them? But now, today, where we stand is a step ahead to say that how do we have that meaningful engagement with the doctor?
Yeah.
And with that, which are the solutions or which technology or which tactics do you see that is working well for you today? And what would be a suggestion and guidance for the listeners that we have and the participants who have joined us today for the discussion?
Yeah, I think during this 1.5 years, what we have seen is that obviously the digital connect is tremendously increased, and we are able to do a lot of activities on the digital front. Normally, the pharma industry is relatively slow to react, but in this circumstance, pharma industry was in the fourth and fifth gear. And if you look at various C's, that we are able to do courses, we are able to do case discussions, we are able to do CMEs, we are able to do collaboration, we are able to do calls, we are able to do connects, right? So a lot of things on that front, and all these activities we have done in a relatively cost-effective manner. That is another C which is very, very important and which is valuable. So in the current situation also is that previously we were talking about if there was a Vodafone ad, wherever you go, our network follows. Now, similarly, wherever the doctor is there, you have to go. So currently, the doctor is also on the digital platform. So if he's on Twitter, if he's on social media, if he's on the digital conference, if he's attending a digital CME, so wherever he is there and he prefers to be there, we should be also there. So that is very, very vital, right? So the current situation is that we can't go away from the digital at all. Now, if I see classically, today is my Saturday. It started with a small KOL meet on the Google. Then later on, now this is a GAPSULE program. Then there is a one NGO activity on Facebook, and later on there is a chat show. So this is the thing which is going to happen in the next 6 months or 1 year. I think in the future also. The only issue is that, as everybody is mentioning, is that obviously content part will be a very, very valuable. Execution excellence is very important. How you execute whatever activity which is there in an effective manner. And the third important point is that the customer delight. We are trying for customer delight in the physical. Now we have to also try for customer delight by improving the quality of the interactions in the digital. So both the points, whether you are physical or digital, ultimately the customer delight and
Absolutely.
the ROI, because we are and looking at the ROI component is also there, whichever activity we do. So these are the very important point in the hybrid model in the current as well as future scenario.
And I think the importance of customer centricity that you've mentioned here.
Yeah.
And also, we spoke about patient centricity earlier. And I think, Mr. Nikhil, coming to you with this question, that earlier it was a very mass marketing approach that we had always followed as pharma company. Today, like Dr. Mahesh mentioned, it is important to get into the level of personalization. You have to move towards where we are bifurcating into micro segmentation and targeting and giving the person what it's needed, giving the customer what it's needed, giving the patient what it's needed. And if I just correlate with what's happening in our regular life, if we have the OTT platforms today customizing to my behavior, that's the same expectation of knowledge, of understanding, of consumption that I will have on other platforms and channels as well. So, with that, where do you see that we have to start focusing our efforts on? Yes, digital is definitely the right approach, and we have to see in marrying it well with the physical approach. But within that, which are these areas and tools and technologies that you see are emerging and would be a good bet for pharma companies to focus on them?
Right. Zeenat, I think basics of marketing, it starts with a segmentation, targeting, and positioning. And I think now in this generation, so I am right now restricting my viewpoint only on a digital space marketing. Physical, I think we are already have done a master's and 50 years, 70 years of experience. All everybody have, and at least have that legacy. What exactly happened there? But I think when we look at digitally, I think we need to segment now our customers in the specifically four categories. There are digital onlookers, there are digitally aware, there are digital utilitarians, and there are digital experts. Now, today, as you rightly mentioned, I cannot go very blanket with all four, but I first, as a medical rep, as a brand manager, as a sales manager, as a national sales head, whichever hierarchical role I am into, first I need to understand what my customer falls into what category. So, people are doing a lot of webinar. So, I think we need to really, once we break up our customers into these four segments, and I think then start personalization into digital onlookers. So, digital onlookers are typically those who to be or not to be kind of situation in life, and they always have their inertias to be on the platform. So, what is still what will excite them? What medium we need to choose? Then digital aware. So digitally aware means they definitely have some awareness usage pattern. So how I really need to go for my approach when I'm loading my content strategy. Third is digital utilitarians. Utilitarians means the one who are utilizing and also has some influence to utilize for others, and digitally experts. So I think this four category, I need to really compartmentalize my digital strategy, digital content. And very sorry to say, but I think digital marketing is not WhatsApp marketing. And I think that is somewhere we need to evolve ourselves. I will not blame, see, I may be also the part of the whole story, and I will also hold myself responsible for it, maybe. But I think we are evolved during the period, and I think we should go beyond that. So it may be, and as we know, data is the next oil. So there is a lot of data analytics dashboards,
Yeah.
understanding the behavior, understanding our KOL management has to improve, as Dr. Mahesh has rightly mentioned. Now I need to do a KOL digital footprinting. Understand how their digital footprints are there, in which social media, how they are reading, what they prefer to read. So I think KOL management is not only making them now a speaker on some webinar on program, but I really need to feed them how they are really consuming the data, what quality of data they are consuming, or what science they are consuming. But there is still a broader space, broader mass audience who maybe still, and I will, my last point, one learning, age bracket is becoming a very important segmentation
Yeah.
in this category when we are developing our digital marketing strategy. And typically I don't want to stamp it any individuals because of age related thing, but there is a usage pattern which we have observed personally in my organization also, that above 50, 55, there are category of people who are more keen to have a more physical understanding and handling of the knowledge content compared to the guys who are now below 40, 45 or SCPs I'm talking about. So I think we should really evolve ourselves from the basic segmentation strategy. Typically, pharma is all about specialty based segmentation, and I think we need to evolve far more to the next level to really adopt ourselves to this digital marketing. I think.
I think you're right because the entire digital footprint part which you mentioned, once we start mapping, once we start understanding the various different cohorts that are coming in, is where we will then be able to map the different personas, have the tactics, have the communication and campaigns planned accordingly. And with that, I'll just move to Mr. Shubhajit. And here's the question, which is also an emerging challenge. We spoke a lot where everything is culminating to say that we need to act with speed, we need to act with agility, with the changes that are happening, the needs of the customers evolving. Now, even if we come to understand the different various behaviors, we come to the stage where we define the personas, we have the exact marketing strategy ready. Do you think today, as pharma and marketers, we are ready to deploy content with that agility? Because it requires a lot of instant change, changing basis the end outcome. You spoke about iPad. iPad might be facing the challenges, but the entire idea of iPad was to understand the consumption behavior. What are they liking? What they're not liking? What the interests are. With all this understanding with us today, where do you see the challenge, and or where do you see that we should be focusing on around the agility to create content?
Yeah, I will just take up from where Mr. Nikhil ended to take it forward. Now, like he said, pharma industry is masters in physical, face to face. We have done it for so many years. A typical thing we have done well, many companies have done well, is customer profile. And of course, Sun and all has done that very well, and even now everyone has done. So customer profiling gives you a broad idea from the basic things of birthdays, marriage, anniversary, sons, daughters, clinic opening, and many other things. Now the time has come when we should go for a digital profile of each doctor, in the sense that there are many channels, but what channel a doctor prefers? Like, there is a section of doctors who prefer emails. There is a section of doctors who prefer Zoom, a section who prefer WhatsApp also. So it is important that we start digitally profiling the doctors. This is becoming very important, number one. And then because I'll give you a survey, it has been found that the emails which are being sent are opened to the extent of 17%. Means I send 100 emails, only 20 emails are seen. And as Dr. Mahesh was telling ROI, now out of that 20, what will be the ROI? So all those things are coming to there. So digital profiling is becoming important. And organizations now has to engage in permission based marketing. Now there are many emails that we can take permission and then we can send. Maybe this 1/5 will become 2/5. I mean 50% maybe doctors will open, so the ROI can go up and the hit rates can go up. So that's important. Then I was talking about adding value to a customer, adding value to the doctor, CVM, customer value management. Now we are experts in storytelling. We go and talk about our product, positioning, composition, everything, unique selling point, everything we do. But can we take the doctor in our fold and create a story around it? So from storytelling to story making is the need of the hour. So first is the digital evolution. We really have to sit down, brainstorm what is the data we require on the digital profiling of a doctor. Second, can we create a customer value management by doing story making with the doctor from storytelling? Because if you see today, not many new products are being introduced. And yes, when a new product is introduced, you have to talk about the products, no doubt on that. But what is the value you are adding to a doctor? Like today, a doctor wants to do a lot of work in menopause area. Since I deal in women's health care, that's a big section coming up. Can I take the doctor in my fold, create a story, and tell the audience that she is doing a lot of work in menopause, doing a lot of work on that. So story making is becoming, I just gave one example, there can be many other things. So story making is one thing. Then the communication digitally which you are giving to doctors has to be nicely, segmented. Like Mr. Nikhil was telling, segmented positioning, these remain same. There is no difference whether digital or physical. But the point is, like communication, when it is digital, it has to be very crisp. Like, can it be organized into headlines? Then headlines, can it be made into folders? Can the folders be given a heading? And then scale it up. So something like this, if we can do it, I think things will be very good.
And just adding to that, I guess, to the just last part which you mentioned, each content, each element of the content,
Yeah,
we will have to pick from the other industries on how are they doing.
absolutely.
And the small things like testing it out, concept testing of one communication,
Mm,
this is working, and being agile to even withdraw and then change it and then push another is something even we'll have to pick up.
yeah,
I think with that point, I move to Dr. Mahesh. And Dr. Mahesh, here we are talking about how we can look for in future to look to address the knowledge gap through various different channels, various different medias. We are then talking about customizing the entire experience and the content to the doctor with the content strategy and the agility. Apart from this, what we see today that most of the companies are trying, whether be it ECMEs or whether be it reaching out to the doctor networking platform, what out of all these tactics that you see to be the biggest threat or challenge that might come to us very soon?
I think we should not take it as a challenge. I think the connect with the doctor, and if there is a fruitful interaction and the outcome is better and it is resulting in the business, so then we can take it as a positive aspect. The challenges what we foresee is that one of the thing, as rightly discussion was on, is content challenge. The another challenge, I think Nikhil was also mentioning about digital inertia of the doctors, right? So digital competencies. Then even it is not digital inertia of the doctors, the chemists or the pharma professionals. Are they competent enough? Are they have got hard skills as well as soft skills, right? So in clinic effectiveness is changing into in on digital effectiveness, right? The medical representative may be having 9 out of 10 for in clinic effectiveness, but on digital effectiveness he may be 5 out of 10, right? So that is a situation because it is a nascent field, and we call it as a neonatal phase. So that is another important challenge, that upliftment the digital people, pharma professional. The next important point is that the doctor's fear about data, right? The doctor doesn't want to come into patient platforms or the doctor, because yeah, the whole story gets opened, that what the doctor has spoken on this platform, it will be recorded, stored, archived, and it can. We are seeing that when there is some small sentence on Twitter, there are so many replies to that, right? So that is another important fear in the minds of the customers. So the how to reduce that kind of a fear, which is very very critical, that is very important. And as I was also mentioning about ROI, right? When you are in clinic effectiveness, we talk about how the business growth is there. Now, similarly, anything activity digitally we do, whether it is a e-CME we do or e-Abbott we do, e-conference we do, right? So in all these things, there will be question mark that the doctors are attending or they are getting engaged, they are replying to your questions, and ultimately they are giving business, right? So the return on any digital activity will be very important. The other important of digital is like, are we losing the emotional touch, right? The doctors initially they are talking to a patient on digital platform, but slowly they also want patient, because they want to feel the patient, they want to touch them, they want to hear their story, as well as they have to reply. So when the doctor tells the patient that okay, you will be all right in 2 days, now that effect is
Yeah.
totally different on the effect which is going to be on the digital, right? So that is another important challenge. So therefore, you can't replace physical totally at all by digital, because India is a country which has got a great human relationship touch, right? That is very important, because I have traveled across India, like from Agartala to Ganganagar, or here it is Srinagar or Trivandrum. The doctors come for knowledge seeking. That even from 30 kilometer on his own scooter, he is coming to listen, and he is asking one or two practical questions. He gets satisfied with that, right? So that human touch is always there in the physical. So whether that will be missed, like, is the environment will be dry if you are on the digital platform, right? And for person like me, when I give the talks, I have got a habit of cracking jokes. Now in the digital platform, if I crack joke, whether the audience will listen or smile, I don't know. Right? So all these are the factors, I think, challenges which are there with the digital. But again, the challenges, because they are new, the things are evolving. But I think we have got so much innovation, and the people are so much capable of thinking laterally. These challenges will be met, and it will come to a good hybrid platform where a rating of physical
Yeah.
interaction as well as digital will be coming out of.
Thank you, Dr. Mahesh. And I must say that you definitely made us smile during the entire course of the discussion. So virtual is not so bad, I must say. Uh, uh, but I think also one more point which you spoke about ROI. I think the trackability that gets added with digital will help us very soon connect and map our efforts to the end output. And it just, I think I hear from across industries as this to be the common problem, that how, if I'm doing a campaign on a particular platform, how do I say that it's actually helping? Because it's not just one parameter impacting your end sales, but I'm sure we'll figure out the right mechanism, and we will have that robust ecosystem
Yeah.
to even evaluate that. Mr. Nikhil, coming to you with this, Dr. Mahesh spoke about the role of a pharma company and how the customers and the doctors have always seen us. They've seen us to be someone who will add in to their knowledge, skill development, upliftment. And when we talk about the digital acumen of our country overall, we are still far behind than the rest, and it's not a hidden fact. Now, where do you see and how do you see that we play a role in bringing our doctor community up to date, understanding the platforms so that there is ease, and also maximizing their takeaway from all these interactions?
Right. So, Zeenat, I think that is going to be the next uphill task for the pharma industry. See, the reason is I think we have seen multiple phases when pharma industry has taken the efforts to equip. I will not say educate as a right word, but I think equip healthcare professionals to adapt to the newer requirements, to the newer skills. So it may be for example, a medico-legal thing. It may be a management-related issues, leadership, communication. I'm talking which are some soft skill, which has definitely they are highly intelligent class of group. But somewhere there are pharma companies have taken a lot of efforts in helping them on a soft skills pattern. I think digital literacy, digital expertise, I will say this is again a soft skill rather than a technical skill. So because there is some inertia which is psychologically involved, and I think once we so definitely there are few companies who are already working on this agenda and already have started interacting, engaging the doctors by by making them, I will not say digitally literate, but I think equipping them to handle this challenge in coming days, because doctor also now aware that this is something is going to be, because I believe one thing very strongly, there is nothing going to be normal now. This is the normal, right? And I think this is the way everybody is accepting it, right from doctor to the patient to the chemist to the pharma marketeers, that everybody know this is the way it's going to be. We need to, I think, give time to everybody in the system to get aligned rather than just rushing through and start forcing the system to fall in place, including for that matter doctors also. So there are few doctors who used to do digital, physical conferences. Now they are also evolving digitally to do the conference. They have their own learnings. They are taking the help of few good professionals, IT professionals, to to really make their own conferences more scientifically engaged, very nicely participated. And so I think pharma companies need to really help our customers. They are our customers, to evolve them, on that front. And see, somewhere we should not only somewhere very honestly, we should not be pushy about the things. I think it is cohesiveness which will help industry as well as healthcare providers to grow and to overcome this kind of situation, rather than looking one as a buyer and one as a promoter. I think that relationship has to evolve when we are looking this digitally, engaging each other. I think that is what I feel right now.
Absolutely. I think we have to be considerate. We do have to
Yeah.
understand if things are changing for us, things are changing for them as well. And it's changing rapidly. So we really need to ensure that we are simplifying it for them so that we can synergize more and then scale up our entire plans which we have. And I think with that, in because I'm also cognizant of the time and we are coming closer to it, and we will also have to open up the flow for Q&A. So to everyone out there, please feel free to post your questions on the chat. We would be happy to take up the question towards the end. And that brings me to the last round of question that I want to ask each and every one of you. So I'll just take the liberty of disrupting the order, and I'll start with Dr. Mahesh here. So Dr. Mahesh, if we spoke a lot about how things are changing and things that we need to look up, be it understanding of the customer, be it how we plan our entire marketing aspect, how do we identify the right media to the right content, and at the end of it, build the experience that the customer requires instead of just being what we company driven objective or marketing driven objective is. So what would be your last and final views around the future of pharma marketing, and any last common words or suggestion for the audience here?
So we are in the phase of COVID ke saath bhi aur COVID ke baad bhi, right? So we have gone through respond and then recover, and now there is a time for thrive. That is the sustain the momentum which is there with the digital, right? As a doctor, another important point is that physical and mental health is going to be crucial for each and every person, whether it is a HCP, patient, pharma professional. The health has become a fourth need, right? So emotional fitness is very, very critical. You have to also go through a lot of motivation for yourself and family members. So definitely read my book, EmoZeal, which is 5,000 books sold on the emotional fitness. The another important point is that adopting the digital mindset, right? It's not the digital literacy, but digital competency is going to be very, very critical. And the another important point is whether my team is competent, right? Because there is a era of virtual supervision will start, right? In that period, how I motivate my team digitally, or how I engage my team, how I communicate my team. So that will be very new for the pharma industry. For I think IT or other industry, virtual supervision was very, very normal. The another important point will be the talk was already going on data and AI. So a lot of analytics is going to come once there is a huge digital platforms. The analytics will be also huge. So the whole industry as well as has to be analytical friendly, right? They have to develop expertise on analytics and use that analytics for the future growth. And as a pharma leaders, it is very important that we have to redefine the next, right? That is the most important point. Is that there will be challenges, but I feel that we have to look at that great path. So woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, miles to go before I sleep.
Well articulated, so
Mhm.
eloquent. I think with that spirit, even I would like to add that line before my next question, and that would be for Mr. Nikhil. With Ladai Abhi Baki Hai is the spirit that we all are living with. Your final words and your take on how the future holds and what should we be focusing on.
Yeah, I think only one or two things which I personally follow and I keep on telling to my teammates also, keep on challenging the status quo. So because today what is there is a status quo, and unless and until you keep on challenging it, things will not change. And rather than waiting. So I think we have to be more proactive, because I think last 1.5 year, whatever we have done as a pharma marketeers or pharma company is still a lot of reactive strategy. I think ability to now anticipate what will be there for next 3 years, and then now keep on preparing
Absolutely.
ourselves accordingly. I think that will be the right wisdom, which possibly will be reflected if we have really learned from this last 1.5 year. If we are still going to follow the same path, I think the woods are going to continue in the dark otherwise, and we will be in continue to keep on walking. But I think keep on walking always does not mean progress, because when you walk with a objective mission and a direction, I think then only it is called as a progress. And I will say, as a pharma marketeer, we really need to ability to anticipate and be proactive is one thing which I keep on telling myself, and I will like to tell to all my fellow colleagues that we have to prepare ourselves far better for any eventuality which may come in coming months, years together.
None of us can deny the new normal, and sooner we accept it and gracefully we move towards getting the right things forward, I guess, would be also making us head in the right way. And with that, Mr. Subhojit, I come to you for your final remark. I know that when we talk about this, open up this subject, it's a vast and a huge subject, and we can
Yeah.
go on discussing about this the entire day. In fact, one of the very important aspects, which even Dr. Mahesh and Mr. Nikhil also brought in their discussion, and which even you touched upon, was the importance of data. And this again becomes a huge discussion. But nevertheless, if we have to then summarize our discussion for today, and
Yeah.
if I have to ask you for your final words and to the participants today on how does the future look like for us and what are the things that we should be looking at, what would be your words?
Yeah. From what Mr. Nikhil said, if I take it up, we were more of a in a reactive mode, than in a proactive mode. So one of the key areas, I really suggest, and we have started doing in our organization, and many others have done it, where we have to really train the hierarchical leadership, that is first line, second line, third line, fourth line, on competency based. It is very important, because what happens, we were faced with adversity. How does one talk to the medical rep? How does one handhold, coach the medical rep and take him along? So it is very important that our future trainings, and it has to be immediate, has to be competency based. The organization can decide what are the competencies needed, and they can profile each manager what are the competencies one has, and then based on that, because today a lot of tools are available, like the disk is available, where you can know the competency traits of an individual. So future of training to be competency based, and then I'll tell you, we will be proactively dealing with any adversity. That is important. And rest, the future looks good. Why I'm telling you, I will quote, I mean, this is my favorite subject when I talk of IPM. The IPM, if you see for last 1.5 years, last year, if you see, the IPM dropped in April and May. It fell down badly, but recovered in this April and May. It went on to grow at 48, 51%. Fine, that was a bit of an aberration. But if you see now, again, it is stable at 15, 16%. So IPM looks solid, it is resilient, and it is growing well. Therapies are once again back. The COVID drugs, which went up, they are now stabilizing. So it's again back to the way the pharma industry was resilient. So IPM is resilient. The only thing we have to change is we have to train ourselves on competencies, and we have to take the emotional intelligence a bit more in the competency. And if we do that, then you will find we handling the situation much better.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think on the piece which you mentioned, because I am seeing the set of questions and we've actually been swarmed with a lot of questions. And before even I start, I really want to apologize for not being able to take all those questions here in the session. But be rest assured that the team would be getting those responses from the speakers and sharing with you later. So one of the question which we have got is from Renali Jain from Mumbai. And her question is exactly this, that which are the basics which will never change in IPM?
Mm, the basics that will never change in IPM is, there are three growth drivers in IPM. One is volume, one is new product. So the volume will always drive the business, which is the demand part, and new product has a role to play. So these growth drivers will remain, they will continue to play their role, and the chronic and subchronic is going to grow. We are seeing once again cardiac, diabetic also growing, the gynae part growing out. So the chronic and semi-chronic is going to rule. That is going to be the order of the day. And IPM will behave the way it was earlier. Only some therapies will be added, like, the stomatological group, which includes mouthwashes, the immunity drugs. They are finding a big place in the IPM now. So they are increasing. So those particular segments are increasing in business. The stomatological, the immunity improvement, the vitamins and minerals, if you see, Zincovit became number one in June. So these therapies are becoming more. Rest, it will behave the way it is and continue to grow.
Got it. All right. Thank you for taking that question. I think the next question that we want to take up, Dr. Mahesh, it will be absolutely right for you to address this. Can virtual engagement help to build emotional sales pitch, which was easy in physical meeting? With your book, which is already out on emotional intelligence, I think you would be absolutely the right person to take this question.
Yeah, I think in the initial phase when the digital competency was not there. Now at that time, actually, the emotional touch component, whether when you start the call or how to engage the doctor, how to probe the doctor, or that all the part which is new for the medical representative or the managers or even the marketing people who are doing the calls from the head office. But I think the digital competency in the last 6 months or 1 year, if you see, definitely the people have gone from 5 out of 10 to now 7 out of 10. So here, I think the emotional touch component is definitely increased. And the calls, the opening of the calls, especially talking about safety of the doctor or safety of the patients of the doctor, or about starting about the how he has prepared his script for suitability for the patient. So all these initial components definitely help in building some emotional touch point with the doctor. But over a period of time, content will be key, right? So if you want to engage the doctor on the digital platform, logically, if the doctor has a very good relationship digitally, also he will talk to the medical representative like physically, right? So that is a very important. Especially what we observed is that the senior medical representatives who have got a very good, strong relationship, they are able to connect digitally on a very effective, whether it's a telephonic call, WhatsApp call, or even in the Google Meet. Right. So the initially the freshers, 1 or 2 year experience, connection with the doctor is not there. There, then some hindrance of emotional touch will come. But I think the doctors can develop the art because they need to developing emotional connect with the patients because they want to retain patients. Telemedicine is followed in a very good way. So I think human touch it is much improved. According to me, it
Yeah.
is much improved as it was started initial 3 4 months. But still, there is nothing ideal. Once you in person meet and telephonic meet, definitely there is some definitely the gap will remain, right? Yeah.
Thank you. I think we are running against time, but I'll still like to squeeze in one last question for Mr. Nikhil. This question is uh, more of a challenge, I would say. And the question goes like, if companies like Netflix and McDonald's are effectively engaging and connecting with doctors, why is it becoming so difficult for pharma companies to do so?
I think these comparisons are not fair, I will say, because we operate in a regulated market, and there are some laws, regulations when pharma companies are promoting the drug, and I'm promoting a medicine which has some effects and which has some side effects. So I think that basic premise we should always understand, and I think everybody knows this. So I will not say that the way Netflix, McDonald's could connect with customer, but the means I don't know why someone is feeling like this, but I think pharma as a pharma companies has also had done a significant work, significant effort. So I could see so many companies have come up with a different patient education chatbots, patient education websites, patient education related customized links. Yeah, I think there is outreach which is happening to the patient front is phenomenal on that. Means see, we have to see the delta. We cannot we have to look at the distance I traveled rather than the only from 0 to 1. So that I think that delta is very important to understand when it comes to the customer or a doctor's engagement. I think it's a still a evolving field. So let's not be a judgmental too early at this point of time that we could not do it and why could somebody could do it. I think let's be fair enough to understand the things. And I think digital is something means I keep on telling. See, digital means I think Mr. Mahesh, Mr. Subhojit, everybody's company have so-called digital departments, but now how they are really evolving, their capacity is getting built up. What kind of talent we are bringing in digital front? Is it the language in the town halls getting talked about in that language? Is it across the functions? See, because if only one organ of the body grows, it causes acromegalies, right? And I think it has to grow in proportion. So it is the culture, it is the way I think organizations should evolve. And I personally rate as a pharma industry, we have evolved substantially in last 1.5 years. So last point, I will tell you one survey has been done, and there are 37% of the respondent in the country believe, and they are all pharma professionals who has been surveyed, that this pandemic has expedited the digital evolution in pharma
Yeah.
by 5 years. So if COVID would not have been there, what we are doing, it would have taken 5 years more. But now what we are doing is, I think I believe that is really a good achievement and good. It may be reactive, but I think action is there. So
Yeah.
sometimes we say perfection may not be there, but sometimes good is good enough. I think that is the way also we should take it.
I think,
I
yeah,
think thank you,
beautiful
Mr.
answer by
Nikhil.
Nikhil. Yeah, beautiful answer by Nikhil. Only small point I want to add. There is another component of pharma is distribution, and I think the distribution has worked like a Amazon, right?
Yeah.
So now there
Absolutely.
are so many companies which have entered into distribution, and now at the finger click we can order the medicine. So that
Absolutely.
component for the patient definitely is evolved to more percentage. But obviously, Nikhil has answered, I think, beautifully.
Right, right. And Zeenat, people might not have received McDonald burger, but I think during COVID, everybody received the medicines.
Yeah.
I think we cannot deny
Absolutely.
that. I think so. So let's respect and let's accept. That's what I feel.
Now,
I
last
think
thing.
Mr. Nikhil,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, please,
Yeah.
Mr. Shuburi, please go ahead. Yeah.
uh, Continuing with the same online pharmacies, now I'll tell you, like they have been a great enabler in the COVID times. We received medicines before we received burger. But I'll tell you, the way the online pharmacies are growing, tomorrow it can be a disruptor, but it will be for the good, because now I don't worry disruption, because I know it is for good. How they will evolve, Zenith, that You see, take Pharmeasy. Now, Pharmacy was into online pharmacies on the supply of medicines. Now they have taken up ThyroCare. So now they are into diagnostics. I am now hearing they will enter into production, in clinic, everything. So that's a different ball game altogether. So that is another chapter which can happen in next 1 or 2 years, where online pharmacies will enter into the basic fundamental network of pharma management. Yeah.
You're absolutely right. I think one of the when we were going through the round of challenges and potentially what could be the threat for pharma companies, yes, disruptors like these can also be seen as a threat, or could be the partners or the collaborators where
Yeah.
together we can actually build towards a better healthcare ecosystem. And I think, Mr. Nikhil, to your response, given like I cannot resonate more than what you just said, because being a digital professional myself in a pharma company, and since last year what we have been doing, I think I always crack this as a joke, very popular and viral, I think, in the month of April, was who actually brought in the digital transformation in your company. And I think hats off, all of us, all the digital professionals in the industry agreed that it is
Yeah,
COVID.
absolutely.
Because the plans that we had, which could have made some shape in 2 years, suddenly was a priority to be deployed in 6 months. So I guess on that note, I am glad for that question, because that last question literally stored up a lot many thoughts and suggestions from your end. So thank you so much. I think unfortunately we've come to the end of our discussion today, but I think I've enjoyed it thoroughly, and I can't be thankful enough for the entire group who was there here, each one of you, for your time, for being patient with me and to my questions, and politely addressing that as well. So thank you again, Mr. Subhojit, Dr. Mahesh Abhyankar, and Mr. Nikhil Dhamne. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks a
very much.
lot, Zeenat, and thanks to everyone. Thanks to DocMode also. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Zeenat. Thanks, DocMode, and my all co-panelists, Dr. Mahesh and Dr.
Thank you. We will be in touch. Thank you for your time. And with this, we come to the end of our very first dialogue series, Capsule. And I think we hope that the discussion that you have joined was fruitful to help you and to leave you with some food for thought around areas that we really need to start looking at. Like it was being said, we have head to the journey of transformation. But with any transformation, it's not sudden, and Rome was never built in a day. So we will have to be patient, but also focus on being agile in the right direction. And with that, I'm sure together as an industry, we can rise up and set an example where instead of people saying that, why don't we learn from FMCG? Hopefully the tables turn around and the reference has been given. Why don't you look at how agile Pharma was to build in that agile digital ecosystem? With that, thank you everyone. Be safe and have a great day.